And that's the hard thing with online, because then you get a video like that and you're like, wow, this video did awesome. And then you release your next video and you're like, it only got a few thousand views. So there's dealing with the highs and lows of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And that's brick and mortar, that's online, whether you're business to customer, business to business. There's always those plateaus of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And the thing with online, like, compared to brick and mortar, I think brick and mortar is much easier to build and get revenue faster.
Yeah.
I think the online business takes a little bit more time, but once you get it going, it's like this snowball effect.
Guys, I know I sound like a broken record. I keep saying I'm super excited to introduce you to fill in the blank, right? And you got to be thinking, God, eventually you're going to run out of cool people to know. No, I am not. That's the beautiful thing about rippling. I ripple my way to some of the most amazing people on the planet. And today's guest is actually no exception. Someone that I have to give credit to whatever the analytics or the algorithm on Instagram somehow put us together, but I discovered Lauren Bateman purely off Instagram. She puts these really amazing lessons out about learning guitar. I am a big lover of the guitar. I am no good at it, but I try really hard. And Lauren has put these little videos, vignettes up on Instagram that have just been tremendous, from getting a better perspective on strumming to finger strengthening exercises to some very simple ways to play some songs that I actually can hear myself playing that I recognize, which is pretty fantastic. She has a whole host of content and courses that she does online through laurabateman.com. We're going to dive into all of that, but I'm just excited that she agreed to be on the podcast. I love her style. I love her approach. I love her energy and her enthusiasm around this instrument. The guitar is a very special instrument for me. It's a special connection point that I've had with my brother for a very long time, and it is unique and important for me to try and get better at the guitar because it is my de-stressor. And thanks to Lauren, I am starting to figure out how to de-stress. So I can't wait for you guys to meet her. So let's dive into this episode right now. I love it. So any questions for me?
No, I don't think so. And I always tell people when I do interviews, like, I'm really good at going with the flow. So, if you had a line of questioning and we go off on a tangent somewhere else, I am more than happy to follow you on any tangent you go on.
I love it. Fantastic. I like it. So that means you're just a good riffer, not just in music, but in life.
Exactly.
Well, so yeah, I kind of do this in a really kind of laid back format, right? I just kind of want it to feel like a conversation between friends. I do feel like we're friends. You're stuck with me now because I follow you so committedly on Instagram. I mean, your stuff is awesome, and so
thank you.
I really try and pump it up in the intro, and I really want people to kind of discover it, figure out what you're doing, and go follow you and take advantage of your courses because you're really amazing. So I'm so grateful you're here to do this. So,
well, thanks for having me, and thanks for being patient. I know I was away in Portugal, and then so thank you for following.
Oh, you're in Portugal? I didn't know you were in Portugal.
Yeah, I was in. I think when you first messaged me, I was literally getting ready to leave for Portugal, and then I came back, and yeah. So.
Oh wow! Was that for like a gig, or was that just for vacation, or what?
It was for like a business networking event that I went out for.
Nice.
Yeah. So there was a little bit of vacation, but not too much.
Okay, cool.
Just a little. Well, you got to sneak a little in there when you can.
You absolutely do. If you don't, you just drive yourself nuts, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, fantastic. Well, we'll dive right in, and let me just make a really quick intro, and then we'll just jump right in. So, all right,
sounds good,
guys. I am super excited to have Lauren Bateman join me today for the Ripple Effect podcast. Lauren, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me.
I got to be honest with you. I'm a little bit nervous because I've been such a fan of yours on Instagram for a while. I don't know when I first discovered you, but like I said in your intro, I think it was the algorithms that brought us together. And it somehow must
Okay.
know that I love playing guitar. I'm not very good at it, but you've actually made me better all purely through just your social outreach for folks. And
That's awesome.
I'm so grateful to get to know you and to bring your great work and your efforts to my audience because I think they need to know about you. But I always like to start kind of with a little bit of an origin story, right? I like to know kind of how you became who you are. And so, kind of give us a little bit of your background and experience.
Yeah, people tell me all the time, like, "You have a great story," and I don't think it's that great because it's my story, um, but I guess when you tell other people, because it's I guess it's not as normal. I'm from New England. I grew up in the Boston area. Went to school, went down that typical path of like go to high school, play sports, get into college, get a good degree. My degrees are in biology and archaeology,
Oh,
um,
wow.
construction for a number of years. And then I finally got a job working for a pharmaceutical company in cancer research because I had had Hodgkin's lymphoma when I was younger.
Oh,
So
my.
I have a big that's part of where that drive that you see in my videos
Yeah.
comes from because I'm a very like live in the moment, live for the moment, like do what you want with your life right now kind of person. So when I was 26, I went on this cruise ship that had it was like a music folk festival on a cruise ship. And
Oh,
I brought my
cool.
guitar and I had so much fun and that was the life-changing moment where I was like, as much as I loved what I was doing at the pharmaceutical company, I was just like, I need to do something with music. I'm not sure how to do it or what it is, but I just need to do something with music because I had always done music.
Yeah.
I took piano lessons when I was younger. I hated it. My sister bought me a guitar when I was a teenager. My mom told her not to do it because I'd waste it, like I wasted the piano lessons. But there was just something about that just always stuck with me with music and guitar. And so when I was 27, I quit my job to go do music. So I started teaching because, you need some sort of income. So I was
Yeah.
working all these
Yeah.
odd jobs, I was doing gigs and, I was teaching out of my home. And apparently I was good at teaching. I don't have a degree in teaching and I hadn't taken a lot of formal guitar lessons.
Uh huh.
So when I actually started by teaching voice because I wasn't confident in my guitar skills. And then one day, I was home and my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, was next door. And I said, can you just humor me for like 2 seconds? So I gave her a guitar and I'm like, I just want to try and teach you this beginner song. It was like Ode to Joy.
Okay.
And I showed her how to hold the guitar, I showed her how to fret it, and I think she played like 2 or 3 notes, and I ripped the guitar out of her hand. I was like, "Thank you very much, I have to go next door." Like, I added guitar lessons to my website, and from that point on, I was teaching guitar lessons because I didn't think I was the great like, I'm no Steve Vai, I'm not an Eddie Van Halen, I'm not that kind of a guitar player,
Yeah.
but I realized that I could help a beginner. Like, I could
Yeah.
help someone beginner, intermediate level. I just didn't have the confidence, and that made me realize that I had a lot more skill,
Yeah.
than I thought I did on the instrument. So for that point forward, started teaching. My schedule got really full. I ended up opening a brick and mortar music school. I owned 2 music schools in the Boston area. And
Wow.
then 2017, I was kind of getting away from teaching in person because my life was getting so busy, as you can see on, social media. I don't just do the music school.
Yeah.
Now I have the online lessons. I do real estate. I do other things.
Yeah.
I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was getting away from the in-person teaching because I just needed more of that flexible schedule. So I said, how do I teach people without having to like be on site every Monday from like, 12 o'clock in the afternoon to 9 o'clock at night? Like, how do I do
Yeah.
this? And I was like, I'm gonna try putting this stuff up on YouTube and just see what happens. And it was a slow go for a while, but we're at about I think the last time I checked, I think we're 310,000 subscribers now,
Wow.
or maybe yeah. So it's
That's
really taken
awesome.
off the last 3 years or so. So yeah, that's kind of the I guess the abridged version of how I got to what I'm doing today, and it's been a lot of fun.
Now you're a superstar, a social media influencer as it relates to your, guitar lessons, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly.
In your spare time
in my
when
spare
you
time
yeah, I
for
love
less of
that.
it.
Well, so there's so much to unpack there. First of all, so it sounds like you and I may have had the same mom because I tried piano lessons. I hated it. I like piano. I now that I'm an adult and nobody's telling me to practice, I like noodling and doing stuff. But guitar was
Yeah,
always kind of for me. It was kind of the instrument of my choice. My I came from I was kind of the mistake child. So I was about 10 years younger than my next closest sibling. I had an older brother who pretty much hated the two sisters and really resented me. But when I got to at least an age where he could talk to me,
right.
he would play guitar. He picked it up on his own. He's really a really gifted guitar player. But I always had a fascination for it. But it was the exact same thing. He wanted to get me a guitar. My mom said, you're going to waste it, and of course,
Yep.
got it. Then puts me into lessons with this old stodgy guy in a basement somewhere, which sounds creepy just by just explaining it that way. And I didn't really like the guitar theory, right? I didn't like just the
Right.
formal process. I just wanted to play. And so,
Yep.
kind of hung it up until I got, I think my, in my early 20s, I picked up a guitar at like a pawn shop and I just started playing with it. And what I actually found is I sucked at it, but it became my de-stressor, right? And I really,
Yeah.
for, gosh, 25 plus years have just noodled. But I found your videos and a few others, and the algorithm sort of led me to you initially, but
Mhm.
you make it seem so simple and so easy, and you have this very calming way of explaining what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I can tell you, this is no BS. I have improved dramatically just because of what I've learned from you.
Awesome.
So I mean,
That's
talk about a
awesome.
ripple. I mean, that's a hell of a ripple effect.
That's a huge ripple, you know? And I think that's the crazy thing because when you look back, I have that guitar hanging up in my office, my first guitar, I still have it. And it's like you look at this guitar over there and I think my sister paid $80 for it when she was in college. It was
Yeah.
her college roommate was like selling this crappy guitar and she bought it as like a confirmation gift for me when I was 16. And it's like, who thought that this crappy $80 guitar was gonna turn into like a multi-million dollar empire, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Yeah.
And like all the people you impact,
Yeah.
on the local level first through the brick and mortar, but I'm still amazed when I go on my YouTube and it's like, "Hi, I'm from the Philippines and you're helping me," or "Hi, I have students in my courses for in Japan, Australia,
Wow.
Canada, South Africa, Sri Lanka." I'm like, how are these people finding me? Holland.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So when you talk about, the unexpected ripple effect of what you're doing and the number of people you're impacting, it's still crazy to me at this day. Like
Yeah.
310,000 subscribers. I'm like, that's crazy still. It
Oh,
is.
it doesn't surprise me though because you have such a really great style and a great approach, and the things that you put out there. You're what one thing that and I don't know if it's that it's serving up these particular videos at the time that they come up, but everything seems to build off of what you shared the last time,
Yeah.
and you have this great way of saying, hey, look, I know this seems a little bit difficult, but trust me, if you practice and you work it, like just the fingering, I saw this like maybe 2 months ago about the finger strengthening exercise that you had. And I tried it.
Yes.
You talk about the ring finger, how difficult and challenging
Yes.
that is. And it was like, oh my God, get this thing to move the way I want it to. And you're like, trust me, it'll be a
Yeah.
pain in the butt, but you'll get it. You'll figure it out. And now I can do it. Not great, but I'm doing it so much more freely than I had before. But then it just
Yeah.
felt like it opened up my entire hand in a lot of ways. And
That's
so you have
awesome.
this really cool way of describing it, but also
Oh,
encouraging
thank
even on the
you.
tough stuff. And so that's a skill. I mean, that's a talent. So it doesn't surprise me that you have that many followers because not everybody has that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like, the words you use to describe, like, calming, I get calming a lot, and if you told my wife that I was calm, she'd probably be like, "What?" No, but I do, through my teaching at least, I've been told in my life many times that I couldn't do something. "You
Yeah.
can't do that. You're not good enough to do that." And, yeah, I've had students that I've taught over the years. I remember one student came in and was like, "I went to this guitar teacher, and he told me that maybe I should stop playing the guitar and I should pick up a harmonica instead because like I wasn't good enough to play guitar. And I was like, who would say that to someone? Like that's so
He must have had my
mean.
exact guitar teacher. That was my exact guitar. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
you should just pick up a new
I
instrument.
always told students, "Listen, if you keep showing up, I will keep showing up for you." I
Yeah,
was like, if there's a will, there's a way. There's people out there who don't have hands that learn how to play their guitar with their feet. I said, "I don't
yeah,
have a program for that. I don't
yeah,
have that
yeah,
program." But I'm like, "Really, if you really want to do this, it's possible."
yeah.
It's possible. You're like, you can do this. You just need to, put in the time, put in the effort. And I'm never going to tell someone, maybe this isn't for you.
Yeah, well, thankfully, I mean, I'm grateful that you didn't because I
Yeah.
have felt like I've learned so much. So talk me through the journey. Like, obviously, you've turned
Yeah.
this into an entrepreneurial, venture for yourself, right? So walk me through how that kind of has come about and sort of how you identify. Because now, literally, I use the word kind of everybody kind of throws that out as influencer is kind of a either a good or a bad thing. It's obviously a good thing in
Yeah.
your capacity, but really a lot of times people are really struggling to figure out how to make that work, like how to make Instagram work or YouTube work and really pay off.
Yeah.
So, what was it that you did that's different than some of the, I mean, you look it up like on any videos, there's a bajillion people, that want to, teach you guitar through these platforms, but they don't seem to pop up like you do. So, you figured something out that
Yeah.
others haven't.
Yeah, and I think a huge part of it is the personality and being yourself. Like you're saying,
Yep.
you're calming. You made me feel like I could do it. And especially I really focus on older adults. So ages 50 and up is kind of like my bread and butter. Most of my students are in their 60s and 70s. And, when you get older, even when you're younger, it's like you doubt, like, can I do this? So
Yeah.
for me, it's very important from the beginning to just make things easy and simple. And one, make people feel good, not talk down to people. Like
Yep.
you're a beginner. I get it. You're a
Yep.
beginner. Who cares? We all start
Yeah.
as beginners.
Yeah.
Let's do something with it. And then, two, to just instill the confidence that like I believe in you. Because for a lot of people, um, you need someone else to believe in you before you will believe in yourself.
Yeah.
So for
It's true.
me, I just want students to know like you can do this. I believe you can do this. Like if you put the time and effort in, you can do it. It might, depending on your age, depending on if you have some arthritis in your hands, it might take you a little bit longer, but we can work with that. Like
Yep.
that's okay. You've got time. Even in your 60s, even in your 70s, you still have time. I have
Yep.
students in their 80s and 90s. So you get time, we can do this. So I think part of it is my personality because like you said, I think there's a lot of people who went to a guitar instructor in person or they went to a guitar instructor 30, 40 years ago and they were a kid and they were traumatized by, the lessons. I
Yeah.
took my piano lessons were in the convent. So, probably not the most
Yeah. Yeah.
exciting,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, but, so that's what people have. They have that memory of like, oh, music lessons, very rigid, very like strict, very like no
Yeah.
flexibility. And I just try and tell people, we can do this. I'm here to help you. And if you make a mistake, no problem. And
Yeah.
I oftentimes will leave mistakes in my video and point them out. And I'll be like, I don't know if you guys heard that. I just screwed up there.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, and I've been playing guitar 20 years and this is a beginner song and I still screwed up the chord or the strum or
Yeah.
whatever it was. And I said, see, nobody's perfect. So I think that really resonates with people as being a human. And when you talk about like the influencer, like one of my students, he put it so well. He's from Scotland and he said, Lauren, you don't teach guitar lessons, you teach humanity. And
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I
Oh,
was like,
that's really nice.
that's powerful. So when you
Yeah.
think about being an influencer, having influence, yes, everyone thinks like the fame and the fortunes and the Ferraris and the Lambos and all that wonderful stuff. Um, but I think of it as how you can influence someone's life to make it better.
Yeah.
Because that's what music is. That's what we're doing through music is we can help people heal, we can help people build confidence. I've had students that were in deep depressions that picked up the guitar and they're like, "You helped me get out of a very, very dark place." And
Yeah.
for me, that's influence. Like,
Yep.
that's true influence, being able to help people and kind of be that bright light that people look for.
Yeah. Well, there's something magical about music, that it opens up something, so deep in your soul, right? If you allow yourself to go there. I've had Susie Turner, who owns Soulshine Rhythm here in the
Hmm,
Austin, Texas area. She teaches drumming, and how she got started was taking that to senior centers, hospice care, places where,
yeah,
life is a general bummer, right? And she helps them find that rhythm that we all have, and she does it in such
yeah,
a way that people just light up, right? And when I interviewed her, she said, I feel like it's my calling to unlock that. Everybody's got that ability.
yeah,
Everybody's got some music inside of them, but because of, like you said, those past experiences, a lot of us are like, oh yeah, I tried that when I was 10 and I wasn't good at it, or
yeah,
I sucked, or I had a bad, teacher or whatever, and never went back to
yeah,
it. But there's something really phenomenal about the change to your mental attitude and just your happiness when you're playing an instrument. And I find
mhm,
that with the guitar. My wife always talks about, like,
yeah,
I can go in my game room and I could be in there for 2 hours, and she's like, you're just, what are you doing in there the whole time? And I'm like, I'm just watching TV, I'm strumming, I'm practicing, I'm doing my thing. And I could have the worst day, but I can do that for 10 minutes
yeah,
and my day has completely changed.
yeah. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Guitar, any instrument, just doesn't have to be guitar, but music has a way of. I always tell people it gives, it gives the words to the things you sometimes can't describe in
Yeah.
life.
Oh, that's well said. I love that. Well, what is it
Yeah.
about the guitar for you though? I mean, I am curious. I mean, what is it about that instrument above all other instruments for you?
Yeah, I'll be honest, my favorite instrument to play is the drums.
Oh, really?
'Cause it's just a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
took drum lessons for a number of years. It's just fun because it's a whole body experience. It's
Yep.
like depending on what I love playing rock music. On the drums, I'm like a Guns N' Roses, Smashing Pumpkins, like, I'm a total, like, yeah, I wanna, like, smack the crap out of the drums.
Yeah.
The
Oh, I
the
love.
guitar, I'm more of the acoustic singer-songwriter, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
different instruments for different moods, I guess.
Yep.
But what hit me about the guitar that I didn't get from my piano lessons. So piano lessons, it was again very focused on the theory, the sight reading, and my brain just didn't work that way, especially not
Yep.
at 10.
Yeah.
I'm a very creative person, and I wanted to write. I started trying to write songs on piano, but I just didn't understand how the instrument worked. And when I learned guitar, I started with like a Hal Leonard book, and I was like, okay, that was sight reading. I'm like, well,
Yep.
this is how I started piano, so I guess that's how you started guitar. And I had
Yep.
my little VHS tape, and I learned my first chord. And I was like, and then it's like, if you put these chords together, it's a song. And that was it. It had me at
Yeah.
that. I didn't even know what a key was. I had recorded like 2 full-length albums. I didn't even know what keys my songs were in. I just did everything by ear. But it was that notion of like, this is a chord, and when you put chords together, it makes songs. And that all of a sudden made sense to me.
Yep.
And I started creating like crazy. I started writing songs. I mean, I had notebooks full of songs.
Really.
And it just gave me an outlet because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be creative. And as soon as I learned a chord and some strumming, I never sight read music again.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I
Well,
mean, I use guitar tablature, and I took piano lessons later because when I got the music school, we got this beautiful acoustic piano. I was like, I should learn how to play this. So I went
uh-huh.
back to it a little bit so I can kind of sight read, but I'm still not good at it at all.
Yeah, I'm the same. I
Yeah.
can do it just a little bit, but it's like it's not fun
Yeah.
to me, right? The
No.
ability to just do your own thing and sort of
Yeah.
figure it out,
And
I
my
think it's
piano
probably
teacher would yell at me because as an adult, he this
yeah,
was one of my employees, would yell at me because 'cause I'd be at the piano, and if we were doing a song I knew,
yep,
I would hum the melody because if I could hear it, I could find it on the piano, and he's like,
yeah, yeah.
"No, I want you to sight," so he would start giving me music I didn't know the melody for, because he's like, "I want you to sight read, I don't want you to
Oh,
hum the music," and I'm like, but, again, when I came back to it later, I was like, "Oh, these are all just like shapes." I realized there were shapes and patterns, and I'm a shape and pattern person.
yeah,
And I feel like if my piano teacher had showed me chords when I was younger and explained what that was, I'd probably be a piano player today.
yeah. Well, like you said, there's still time,
There's
right?
still time, plenty of time.
Yeah. So, who are some of your musical influences growing up that sort of encouraged you down the guitar path?
Yeah, I mean, big for me was a guitarist, Melissa Etheridge.
Yep.
Was listening to, like, her Little Secret album was really big when I was in high school and I got my first car. So I would all that was the album I listened to, like, to and
Great
from
album.
school.
Yep.
Um, Natalie Merchant was another one that I listened to. I love Janet Jackson, even though she's not a big, like, guitar person, but
Yeah.
she's a big person who kinda, like, really, really introduced music, like, I just really liked the music. That was, like, my first album.
Yep.
It's funny because I just, got the 30-year anniversary vinyl,
Uh-huh.
so I ordered that. So and that because that was my first CD that I had ever bought. My first cassette was the Bodyguard soundtrack.
Yeah.
That was my first cassette. Um, but yeah, so those were some of in terms of guitar, Melissa Etheridge was a big one. And then as I got older, obviously I started getting more into, the classic rock stuff, Heart, um, the Beatles. You can see kind of the edge of my Gretsch
Yeah.
here. That's my
Yeah.
George Harrison, um,
Oh.
Gretsch guitar. So, I love the Beatles, and obviously they're very guitar heavy. So those are some bands that I really like playing, and who inspired me to be like, this is such a cool instrument.
Oh yeah. That's awesome. Well, so what's the biggest thing? So do you still have the two music schools? Or did you
Yes.
okay, so you still have those. So you do that, then you do this on the side where you're actually teaching, via the web, right? And
Yeah.
you know, the walk us through just a little bit, so my audience kind of has a sense,
Yeah.
what's that like being an entrepreneur in that, in that space. So you have the bricks and mortar and you're there where you have the opportunity to work, one-on-one with students, but then ultimately how this kind of shifted where you took the lessons, like you said, globally, because you have people from all over the world that are subscribing to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. It was interesting because I worked with a business coach, and I was kind of hesitating about doing the online thing for, I guess it was that doubt, that confidence thing came back. And she's like, listen, you have a gift. And if you don't share that with the world, you're being selfish. And I was
Yeah.
like, ooh, I was like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I did it. And you know, the brick and mortar is very different from the online space. And I really like the online space just because of the scalability of being like that video you were talking about, the
Yep.
finger exercise, that got over 1 million views in like 4 months.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it was just this incredible video, again, that really I think hit home for people because, it was very valuable. It was a very valuable exercise that taught a quick lesson that everyone was like, wow, okay, I can work on this. This is
Yeah.
something I
Yeah.
can do, whether they could do it a little or not at all. They're like, this is an exercise that's useful and I can work on.
Yep.
So that's why, I think that video really hit home for people because it was very applicable to almost anyone who played a guitar. So, and that's the hard thing with online because then you get a video like that and you're like, wow, this video did awesome. And then you release your next video and you're like, it only got a few thousand views. So there's dealing with the highs and lows of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And that's brick and mortar, that's online, whether you're business to customer, business to business. There's always those plateaus of entrepreneurship.
Yep.
And the thing with online, like compared to brick and mortar, I think brick and mortar is much easier to build and get revenue faster.
Yeah.
I think the online business takes a little bit more time, but once you get it going, it's like this snowball effect.
Yeah.
When my first video I uploaded, I think it was Hound Dog by Elvis in March of 2017. And I think I uploaded and had one view, which was probably my view, just making sure that it worked. And you're like, great. And you're uploading these videos and you're putting a lot of time in because when you're a content creator, in the beginning, you wear all the hats.
Yeah.
You're the
Yeah.
editor. You are the content, you're the videographer, you're the
Yeah.
lighting person, you are everything under the sun.
Yep.
And, when I went back and looked at my first year on YouTube, I thought I had done a lot more work than I did. I think I only did like 19 videos my first year, but it felt like a lot of work because I had to
Sure.
film it. I had to edit it.
Yep.
I literally did everything. So it was a lot of work. Um, but over time, as you start getting momentum, it grows and it starts snowballing, and then you get that scalability,
Yeah.
which you can't, like, if you were a local, music school, brick and mortar, there's only so far my reach will go, unless,
Yep.
yes, you could offer Zoom lessons, but you've only got a certain radius around your
Yeah.
area that
Yeah.
you can service. Whereas
Yep.
online, I can service Canada, I can service Australia, I can service New Zealand, like, so that's the difference between the two businesses. It's just, they're very, very opposite of each other. Online, it takes time. It
Yeah.
takes because you have to build an audience. You kind of have to build a brand for yourself because let's talk about YouTube. And you mentioned algorithms and stuff
Yeah.
earlier. Like you start putting stuff on YouTube, and YouTube, one, doesn't know who you are. They
Right.
don't know who your audience is, and you're going up against these people like Justin Guitar who've been doing this for
Yeah.
like almost 2 decades now, and YouTube's were like, well, people really like this guy. Or you get the guitar exercise and it's Justin Guitar, and it's like, I don't know who she is, but I know
Yeah.
him, I've seen him before.
Yeah.
So you have to start getting that brand recognition
Yep.
that you don't have in the beginning. So it's a hard crawl those first 2 or 3 years, but again, once that snowball gets going, it's really exciting. It can happen very quickly.
Well, so I'm curious in terms of that, because you talk about it as two types of business, right? Or two different variations of the business. You've got your
Yeah.
bricks and mortar approach with this, with the facilities, but then you have the online. So is the online presence that you have on YouTube, Instagram, is the revenue plan in terms of that approach? Is that to drive them to do more lessons with you, or the course content? Or are you making revenue just because you've now got 310,000 subscribers and that's the snowball effect you're talking about?
Yeah. So, you know, the YouTube content is kind of like the lead generation.
Yep.
Those are like my that's my TV ad.
Yep.
I get in front of people, they find this guitar exercise and they're like, oh, that was pretty cool. That was useful. Let
Yep.
me see what else she does. And then they like something else. And then they're like, oh, let me go over to her website. So, YouTube, like I make money off of YouTube ads, but it's really, I call it like cherry on top.
Yeah.
It's really not a lot.
Yep.
Um, in the grand scheme, I mean, I think if you wanted, because everyone always asks me numbers, like if I had, 900,000 views last month, I made $5,000, which is nice.
Yeah.
But you have to get like a million views
Yeah.
every month,
Yeah.
which is a lot of
And like you
views.
said, some will
In the
go really
beginning,
good
when
and
I
some won't,
started,
right? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, when I first got paid with YouTube, I think I made 3 cents my first day. I was like, woohoo! Like
But it's
getting
3 cents
nothing
you
with
didn't
that.
have, right?
So in the beginning, it really wasn't a lot, but but again, you have to get so many views to really be profitable. So I
Yeah.
always tell people, especially if you're in the education space and you go to YouTube, make a course,
Yeah.
because people are going to want to support you. If they like you, they will buy something from you. So that's
Yeah.
usually what happens, because I have a little survey and I ask people, like, why did you buy this course? And 9 out of 10 times it's, I saw some of your YouTube videos. You were calm and made me feel good. And I was able to do it. So then I went to your website and I bought your course. Like literally,
Nice.
like you could copy and paste that almost on every submission. It's like,
Yeah.
I saw you on YouTube. I went over to your website. You made sense and I bought your course.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you YouTube is, that's the lead generation. That's people getting to know you. And that's why people are like, well, what do I put as content? Like, what do I give away? Everything.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that exercise that you were talking about, that's
Yeah.
in my course. It's in the course. But again, only a million people have seen it. There's like 300 million people in the US. So
Yeah.
that means
Yeah.
299 people in the United States alone have not seen that video.
Yeah.
And that's what people when people go to buy a course, they want a system.
Yeah.
And that's another word that I could use over and over again. Step by step, system. You had a system. So people are looking for the blueprint. People are
Yeah.
looking for the system. They're on YouTube and, how do they know if the next video that YouTube suggests really is it'll be like, students will say this all the time. I go and see this video and it says it's for beginners and I feel like I'm an idiot because I can't do anything. I'm a beginner. If this is for beginners,
Yeah. Yeah.
so, when they see one of my videos and it says beginner, they know they're going to be able to play it at
Yeah.
the beginner level because I
Yep.
really teach at the beginner level. So, that's where, again, your personality will come out and people are buying you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're buying my system too, but they're buying me because they're like, you helped me on YouTube for free. It worked. And now I trust you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have a course. If you helped me for free and it worked and I buy this course, that's probably gonna work too. It's
Yeah.
probably gonna be better because I'm paying for it.
Yeah, really valid point. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so do you spend more time on the YouTube videos and then are you pulling things out of those YouTube videos and that's what you do to support the Instagram strategy or the other platforms like Instagram or are you doing
Yeah. I mean,
doing both?
yeah, I'm not one of those people who goes down every single rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I know what I do well.
Know your lane,
And
right? Know your lane.
I know my lane.
Yeah.
I'm great at YouTube. I do pull stuff and I put it on Instagram and I put stuff on those are kind of like my 3. I
Yeah.
haven't done TikTok and everyone's going, "You need to be on TikTok. You need to be on LinkedIn. You need to be." And it's like, "Listen, I'm one person."
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think a lot of entrepreneurs do this. They try to be everywhere. And yes, you can listen to Gary Vee and all these
Yeah,
guys who are
yeah,
like
yeah.
post a million pieces and it's like, "Hey, if you can do that,
Good for you,
awesome.
right? Yeah.
Uh, fantastic."
Yeah.
I'm one person and I know my 80/20.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And the 80/20 rule says that 20% of your effort is gonna get 80% of your results.
Yeah.
So why am I gonna focus on the 80%? I might as well put as much time and energy on the 20%. And the
That's right.
20% for me is YouTube.
That's great.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably more than 20%, but I'm like, if I focus as much of my time and energy on my YouTube channel and my email list, I don't have to do anything else.
Yeah.
I really don't because, yes. And again, you get to, if you want to make a business that's making $100 million a year, yeah, then you got to start doing other things.
Sure, sure.
But my biggest recommendation to a lot of creators and influencers is find your lane. Like, which platform are you resonating with people? I post on, I think Instagram, I maybe have 40,000, 41,000 followers, which I understand is a lot in
Yeah.
the grand scheme of things, but I don't grow that quickly on Instagram. I think I've been at like 40,000 for like the last year. I've
Yeah.
maybe gained 1,000 people and I'm posting consistently over there. It's just not my platform.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not my platform. Like I said, my audience is older. They're more likely to be on Facebook. So I spend a little bit more time on Facebook and Facebook posting than Instagram, but I like Instagram for the stories. Instagram's a little bit more like if you want to see my personal life and my personality,
Yeah.
that's on Instagram.
Yeah. No, that's
And the
awesome.
YouTube is all business.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, so let me ask you this question. And I'll ask you some, if you're okay with this, I've got some Ripple
Yeah.
connection questions I'd love to ask you. But I mean, what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur in your mind?
Best part about being entrepreneur and what?
In your mind, what's the best
In
part
my
for you?
mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, it was the part of the reason like why I went on YouTube, flexibility.
Yeah.
Options. I'm a big fan of options. And when you are an entrepreneur, you have way more flexibility and options.
Yeah.
And as your business grows, you get more flexibility and more options. So
Yeah.
that's what I like best about being an entrepreneur.
That's awesome. What's the
Yeah.
best piece of advice you've received and how have you used it?
Ooh, that's a great question. Best piece of advice I've received. Gosh, that is I mean, I go back to what that coach said to me of like, if you don't share your gift, you're being selfish. Because that really was like, that was a great way of putting something,
Yeah.
because you doubt yourself. And she was just, it was that almost what I mentioned earlier, was someone else believing in me before I believed in myself, and she's like, "You have a gift, and if you don't share that, you're being selfish." Because
That's
that
great
really
advice.
changed my mindset around what I was doing, and I was just like, "Oh, wow." It was
That's
just kinda
awesome.
like,
Yeah.
smack in the face. So,
That's
that was probably one of the biggest things that someone said to me. I know it's not really advice, but it's
right.
probably one of the biggest things that someone said to me, and I was like, "Oh, wow. Yeah,
No,
you're
it
right."
really is. I mean, it's really fantastic advice. And if you hadn't done it, look where you might not be, right? At the end of the day,
Right.
I mean, it's you that came at the right time from the right person, and you were finally at that point in your life where you were ready to hear it and actually act
Yeah,
upon it. So I think that's
yeah.
phenomenal. What
And
has
one more that just
Oh,
came to me
yeah.
that kind of also over this is where I met this woman at this event. I went to an event and the presenter said, "If your business is not online, it will be dead." And this was 2017.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
when again, so I had these 2 messages of being like, "If you're not online, your business will die, and if you don't share your gift, you're being selfish." So those I
Yep.
have both of those working on me at the same time.
That's good. I mean, both of them have proven
Yeah,
valuable. That's for sure. What has
yeah.
the guitar taught you?
The guitar, I think, has taught me patience.
Ooh, that's good.
Really
I love
has.
that.
One, from a learning perspective, because when you think you know everything, there's always something harder that humbles you. So that's great. So you have to learn patience, but also from a teaching perspective, um, you have to learn patience because you can't force people to move at your speed. You
Yeah,
have to move at someone else's speed because that's their pace. And I think that's where a lot of teachers get into trouble because they expect their students to be as good as they are or pick up the guitar maybe as quickly as they did, and when the student doesn't, they get frustrated. So
yeah.
I learned that I need to meet people where they're at, and that helped to develop a lot of patience.
That's awesome. That's great. What's the best thing one of your students could say about you?
One of the best things. Oh, gee. I think one of the best compliments that people give me, when they give me feedback or they complete the course and they give me a review and they tell me that they can tell that I really care. They're like, "I really feel you can really feel Lauren's sincerity." And that means a lot to me because I always try to be transparent with people, even in business.
Yeah.
I posted something the other day where I had like this big website fiasco, and I was like, most entrepreneurs aren't going to share this with you. I'm going to share it with you. I made a big mistake.
Yeah.
I think people appreciate when someone is genuine, and I'm glad that that comes through because in a video format, like, I don't know how that's gonna come through a camera.
Yeah.
So the fact that students' feedback is like, "I really feel that Lauren cares," means a lot to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I didn't have this question prepared, but I've got to ask you because you wear the Superman symbol a lot. Could be Supergirl. What's the story?
Yeah.
Tell me the story behind the shirt.
Superman's just always one of my favorite, characters, and I'm not sure why, but I remember when I was a young kid, I used to spend summers at my grandfather's house, and we watched the
Oh
original
yeah.
Superman, black
Yep.
and
Yep.
white TV. I've probably seen every episode of Superman. And then, I watched the Christopher Reeves,
Yeah.
movies, all those movies growing up. So I think I kinda grew up on Superman, and then I did, like, Lois and Clark when I was in high school. So I kinda, like, kept going down the Superman journey. And you know, I think I just like the wholesomeness of Superman and that he was always trying to do good for people. And I mean, who doesn't love a good superhero? But I
Yeah.
thought he was, like, the coolest of all the superheroes, because I felt like he had such integrity.
Yeah.
You had Batman, who was kinda like this mysterious, dark,
Kind of a
I don't
jerk.
know, maybe somewhat sketchy guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Sketchy
But then
for
you had Superman, who was like the mild-mannered reporter.
Yeah.
So I just felt he was just such a classy superhero, and I think that's why he resonates with me a lot. Him,
I
and then
love
I had someone the other day who commented, they're like, "I watched one video and you have Superman, and then the next one you have Captain America." He's like, "You can't do that," like the Marvel and the And I was like, "Listen, I like what I like,"
Yeah.
and they're very similar. It's that wholesome kinda like all-American, and there's just something about that that really resonates with me.
I love it. I love it. Well, so,
Yeah.
just in follow up to that, so which of Superman's powers would you most like to have?
Um, Flying.
Yeah.
That would make my life a lot easier.
Especially in Boston.
Yes.
You have a little bit of traffic up there from time to time, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, last couple of questions. Where do you find your inspiration these days?
Um, in terms of creation or
In general, whatever
in
inspiration
general?
is for you.
Yeah, I get inspired. So I'm more inspired now by traveling. I told we just
Yeah.
before we went live, we talked about how I went to Portugal. I'm inspired by seeing more of the world. You know, I just turned 40 this year. So I'm over the hill now, and
Hey, careful,
I
careful.
yeah, because of COVID,
Yeah.
things shut down, and we didn't get to travel for a while. And I said once we were able to travel again, that we were going to start, making it that like we did a good trip every year,
Yeah. Yeah.
to go see something that we had never seen before. So that's something that inspires me and keeps me motivated to keep showing up and coming to work, because obviously, you sell more courses, you can go on more trips, you can do
Yeah.
more things. So traveling right now is a big inspiration for me.
I love it. I love it. Well, last two questions I have for you. What does the ripple effect mean to you?
The ripple effect to me is the individual connectedness of how you touch people, like how, I posted a video and then you saw it, and here we are, and we're touching all these people through
Yep.
this podcast, but also, all the other people who watched that same video that you watched and how they were all touched. And then they went and kind of touched someone. So for me, it's that interconnectedness of human nature and how we interact and inspire each other.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great definition. What ripple can
Yeah.
I be creating for you?
What ripple?
What ripple can I be creating for you?
Ooh, that's a good one. Um, I think a ripple that you could create for me is just for people to understand that you don't have to be a musician to explore music. Music is a wonderful thing, and I think it's something that everyone should have in their life.
Yeah.
Whether it's your favorite album that you love to listen to, whether it's learning an instrument, I think music is so important. And if there's one message that I can send out through this podcast to ripple out through the world, it's that music is there for you no matter what.
Yep.
So I really encourage you to embrace music and take some time out of the day just to really enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will do my best to spread that. I'm
Yeah.
a huge fan. So how do you want people to follow you? Obviously, give our audience your YouTube, handle.
Yep. So it's youtube.com/Lauren Bateman. But like I said, if you want more kind of the funny personal side of Lauren, you can get that on Instagram. So that's at the Lauren Bateman. And then I do have my website, laurenbateman.com, where you can learn all about my guitar lessons and stuff over there. So those are kind of the main three.
Well, I can tell you, for my audience, you have to go check these resources out because they are phenomenal. YouTube channel is awesome. Your Instagram, you are hilarious. I love what you do on there, and just your courses and what you do to make things. Like you said, you give it a try and you figure it out that you've actually got the ability to play, and you do it in such a way that really encourages people to want to stick with it. And so that's a true gift, and I'm so grateful to know you. You're stuck being my friend now, so we're going to be we'll do a follow-up at some point to this episode, but I'm so grateful that you agreed to come on to the Ripple Effect podcast.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you for having me, and I appreciate that I get to help you with your guitar.
Well, thanks. Well, much continued success. And guys, we'll be back with another episode of The Ripple Effect very soon. But until then, Lauren, ripple on.